Welcome back to the Deep Dive, where we tackle the most complex, high-stakes professional requirements, distill them into clear frameworks, and really give you the actionable playbook.
Today, we are focusing on something that is, well, probably the most stressful scenario in healthcare. Managing intense anger, distress, and conflict, whether it's from a patient or, a relative.
And this isn't just about general communication skills, is it?
No, not at all. This is about structured professional de-escalation, drawing directly from established UK frameworks.
Right, we're talking about the material that's actually mandated by professional bodies, like the GMC, that's the General Medical Council, the professional regulator, and it's all reinforced by standards from NICE and the NHS. So our mission today is to give you the precise logic you need to navigate these moments safely.
And professionally.
Okay, so let's set the scene immediately. Here's that classic hook dilemma we pulled from the source material. You're working a busy shift, a relative starts shouting, swearing, causing a huge scene about waiting times, and it's all happening right in the middle of a crowded waiting area. What's your immediate professional and, I guess, safe first step?
Right. And the required response, it starts with a mindset shift, really.
Yeah.
Safety first, always.
Right.
You need a structured sequence.
Okay.
You stay calm yourself, you listen, you acknowledge their distress without, conceding to the aggression, and then you set clear, fair boundaries.
And you offer choices.
You offer practical choices,
Yeah.
and you have to understand when and how to escalate early if that risk level rises. That sequence, followed by documentation and debriefing, that's the core truth of this deep dive.
Okay, let's unpack this. We know conflict is frequent, but
Yeah.
why is the professional duty so strict here? I mean, sometimes the anger is legitimately directed at the system, right, or the delay.
That's precisely the point the sources drive home.
Yeah.
Anger and distress are almost always symptoms of something else.
Like fear or pain.
Exactly. Fear, severe pain, miscommunication, a perceived disrespect. The professional challenge is to see that the hostility is a manifestation of that pain. Your duty is to separate the person in distress from the disruptive behavior you cannot tolerate.
Ah, I see. So you address the person with compassion, but you manage the behavior for safety.
Immediately and firmly. And the GMC principles lay out exactly how we manage ourselves in that situation. It's not about winging it.
It's mandated conduct.
Absolutely. Professional standards demand clarity and compassion. We must always treat people with dignity and respect, and this is critical. We must never retaliate.
Or match their volume.
Never. Don't allow yourself to become defensive or argumentative. Doing that, it just immediately escalates the risk, and it violates our duty of care.
It feels like the moment we match their volume, we stop being a calming influence and we become part of the conflict.
You are. You've chosen an emotional reaction over professional conduct. The crucial non-negotiable duty is to keep patients and colleagues safe. If safety is compromised, you have to raise concerns and follow local risk policies immediately.
And record every...
And underpin everything with accurate, factual records. That's mandatory.
Okay, so this is where we move from the professional duty to the practical toolkit. The sources give us these really specific, memorable frameworks. Let's start with the structured approach. What is the very first physical action you must take?
Step one is always, and I mean this is non-negotiable, safety first. This is proactive. You immediately scan your environment. You make sure you have a clear exit route.
You call a colleague?
You call a colleague or a chaperone to join you. And if you can, you move the interaction out of that public area to a private but safe space.
So trying to handle it alone is a bad move.
It's explicitly cited as a low-scoring option. Getting support is professionalism, not failure.
Okay, so that safety net is established. Now we implement the communication framework. Let's dive into the core mnemonic, calmer.
Calmer helps you process the emotional and the communicative steps, and crucially, in the right order.
Let's break it down letter by letter. C.
Start with C. Calm stance and tone. This is your default. Low voice, slow rate of speech, non-threatening posture. Then A is for acknowledge feelings.
This is so important, isn't it? You validate the emotion before you try and fix anything.
Exactly. Phrases like, I can hear how stressed you are, or I can see how frustrated you are about the wait. You're acknowledging the validity of the feeling, not the validity of the aggression.
That's a hard distinction to maintain when you're under pressure, acknowledging the feeling without accepting the behavior.
It is, which is why the L is next. Listen and allow venting. Give them time to fully explain. When someone feels truly heard, the intensity of the emotion often just drops.
But that feels so counterintuitive when you're under extreme time pressure. How do the sources justify that time sink?
Because if you cut them off, you almost guarantee they will escalate. Active listening helps de-escalate, and it ensures the problem you eventually try to fix, the M, is the real problem.
So M is for map the issue.
Yes. Clarify the core complaint. Is it the delay? Lack of information? Pain control? What is actually going on?
Okay, so once you've acknowledged the emotion and you've identified the root cause, then you can introduce boundaries. That brings us to E and R.
Exactly. E is for explain limits. This has to be done calmly but assertively. You state the zero-tolerance policy on abusive language, and you clarify what you professionally can and can't do right now.
Something like, I can help you, but I need you to lower your voice so we can continue safely.
Perfect. And finally, the R for resolve with choices.
Why is choice so powerful here?
Because aggressive behavior often stems from a feeling of losing control. Giving choices, even small ones, restores a sense of agency. Here are 2 practical next steps I can offer. Which one works best for you?
Realistic options, clear timeframes, that's a great sequence. And the sources also mention the de-escalate mnemonic as an alternative, right?
They do. It covers similar ground, like distance and safety, empathize, slow voice, but it also critically includes team support. It just reinforces that getting help early is integral to the whole process.
So safety is step 1. Let's talk about identifying immediate risk. What defines that, and what does acting proportionally really look like?
Right, so anytime you see a red flag, you have to shift your focus immediately to getting assistance.
What are those flags?
Explicit threats or violence, obviously. Anything that suggests a direct risk of harm. If exits are blocked or there's any sign of a weapon, that's immediate, non-negotiable danger. You call for security or police.
And what if the person's control is already compromised, say by intoxication?
That also triggers an immediate intervention. Escalating intoxication or, acute psychosis means their control is impaired, which drastically increases unpredictable risk. You have to get more support in the room.
This brings up that feeling many clinicians have, doesn't it? That calling security feels like admitting defeat, like you failed to connect.
The sources are really clear on this. Your duty is to follow policy, and policy mandates ensuring safety. Trying to be the solo heroic is a low-scoring option because it puts you and others at risk. It's not about your ego. It's about everyone's safety.
So let's look at the flip side. When you're facing this pressure, what are the definite trap answers to avoid?
The traps are destructive. They either escalate the risk or they destroy trust. Trap number 1 is arguing or matching their volume.
Just pouring fuel on the fire.
Completely. You've breached professional conduct and you're no longer in control.
And trap 2 is about making rash promises.
Precisely. Never say, I'll get you seen in 5 minutes, or you'll be next, guaranteed. When that promise fails, and it will, the trust is gone. And the next staff member has an even bigger problem.
And the third major trap seems to be procedural, ignoring the environmental risks.
Yes. Trap number 3. Ignoring safety cues. Staying alone in a confined space with an agitated person, or walking away without a clear handover. You have to maintain professional vigilance.
So instead of those traps, what's a gold standard phrase for setting limits?
The guidance suggests a calm, assertive I statement. Something like, I will speak calmly, and I need you to keep your voice down and your hands by your sides so we can continue safely.
That's great. It makes the boundary a condition of engagement, not a punishment.
Exactly. And for choices. Here are 2 realistic options I can offer today. We can wait here with a time estimate of X, or I can arrange a callback from a senior nurse in 30 minutes. Which works best for you?
Realistic, clear, and restores that choice. So once the temperature is down, the interaction isn't over, is it? The final professional steps are just as important.
They are non-negotiable professional duties. Closing well means summarizing the agreed plan, setting expectations, and giving any necessary written info.
And the documentation, what specifically needs to be recorded.
A factual note. The behavior you observed, but without judgmental language. The risks you identified, the actions you took, the plan you agreed, and who was present. And crucially, you must then follow that up with mandatory incident reporting.
And that leads to staff support.
Yes, you must debrief. If you or a colleague experienced abuse or near miss, reporting it and getting support is essential for psychological well-being and, for system learning.
Okay, the critical question. You've done everything right. The calmer steps, you've set limits, but the aggression continues. Can you end the consultation?
Yes. If the risk persists despite everything, you must end the consultation to ensure safety. The key is how you do it.
You don't just storm out.
Never. You clearly summarize the situation, you signpost them to alternatives for their care, and you involve security or police if that risk remains high. You terminate safely and professionally.
So that brings us full circle. The core logic here is safety first, then empathy, then limits, then options, and then immediately escalate and record.
Mhm. The key takeaways are unambiguous. Prioritize safety, get support early, validate the emotion before you try to solve the problem. Set fair, clear limits and give realistic choices. And finally, document everything, file the incident report, and debrief with your team.
That's the difference between an escalating crisis and managed professional conduct.
It really is.
So we have reviewed the professional steps for when a patient is angry at you or the system, but here's something to think about. How might the clinical news you deliver, say breaking bad news or a complex plan, unintentionally trigger this kind of escalation? What specific preparation should you put in place to manage that emotional fallout before it ever becomes a safety risk?
That's a vital point. That preparation is where these skills meet the art of compassionate communication.
A critical connection to make. Until the next deep dive, stay safe and stay informed.